Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from the 40 principles of the religion, the 40 fundamentals of the religion, Al-Arba'in Fusul Din, by Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah, wa nafa'ana bi'um fi ad-darain, ameen, ameen, ameen. The ninth principle, which is really the 39th, the ninth principle of the fourth quarter, contentment with divine decree, al-rida bil-qadr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, radiyallahu anhum wa radu anhu. Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with Him. It was mentioned in probably in 4 places in the Quran. Imam Ghazali mentions in the after this verse many traditions. It seems that all of them have weak chains of narrators, but we'll mention them and see how at least we'll get the something from the meaning despite the weakness of the chain of narrators. If Allah loves a slave, He tries him as in trial. If he is patient, He draws him near, and if he is content, He chooses him. Another tradition: worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with contentment. If you cannot, then there is much good in patience with what you dislike. Really, because you don't know what is good for you also. And if you, what is it that you dislike? Is it pain? Then it could be either as a result of if you are patient, really, in this case, as an example, if you are patient, it's going to be a good deed for you. It could elevate your status, and the result of which could also wipe out sins. And you might detest something and it is good for you. It has been mentioned, of course, in the Quran. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَيْئًا وَيَجْعَلَ اللَّهُ فِيهِ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. You might detest something, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring out ample good out of it, but you might still dislike it. We don't know. So if you don't have contentment, then have patience. And the Prophet, of course, we said that the chain of narrator is not strong, but he said to a small group, "What are you?" They said, "Believers." He said, "What is the sign of your faith?" They said, "We are patient with tribulation, grateful for ease, and content with divine decree." He said, "By the Lord of the Kaaba, you are believers." In one tradition, he is reported to have said, "You are wise and knowledgeable, almost like prophets, on account of your understanding." Allahu alam بصحة السند. From what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Dawood alayhi salam is that, "What is with my saints worrying about the world? Verily, worry removes the sweetness of conversing with me from their heart." Verily, my love for my saints is that they are spiritual and not distressed. Another tradition, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said this, despite the weakness of the chain of narrators. This would be classified as Qudsi, because here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I am Allah, there is nothing worthy of worship except me. Whoever is not patient with my trial, is not grateful for my blessings, and not content with my decree, then let him seek a Lord besides me. And in the next one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I created good and created people for it. I created bad and created people for it. Glad tidings to whomever I created for good and facilitate good at his hands. Woe to whomever I created for bad and facilitated bad at his hands. And woe to whoever says why or how. People do ask why. People do ask how. There was a story about, it's a very new story. A young Italian woman who was Catholic and she became Muslim. Her father committed suicide when she was 3 years old, and her mother became alcoholic. And it's an amazing thing that out of all this tribulation and context, definitely there's nothing positive in such a, disintegrated family, and a father that rather than face the challenges of life, he chose to take out his life. He committed suicide. But she asked why. She did ask why. And down the road, she became Muslim in her search for the answer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Dawood alayhi salam, O Dawood, you want and I want, and only what I want is to be. If you submit to what I want, I will suffice you with what you want. If you do not submit to what I want, I will tire you with what you want. Then there will not be anything except what I want. The sign of love is contentment during tribulation. A group has denied contentment and said that it is not conceivable in regards to what conflicts with desire, and that only patience is conceivable. They came to this conclusion due to denying love, whereas we affirm it. The sign of love is contentment during tribulation and with whatever conflicts with one's nature and desire. This is conceivable from three aspects. The first of them is that beholding love and love's extreme depth fills a person with wonder to the point that he does not feel pain. This is witnessed in regards to love of created things and the dominance of desire and anger. It is such that the angry person is injured, yet he does not feel the wound at that moment. Similarly, the obsessed person's foot is pricked by a thorn, yet he does not feel it. However, if his obsession subsides and he attains his desire, the pain worsens. Of course, the explanation would include, pumping adrenaline into, at moments of stress, danger, and what have you. If you can picture a slight pain being numbed with a little bit of love, You can conceive of much pain being numbed with strong, far reaching love. Indeed, both love and pain are subject to increase and severity. This may be conceivable in regards to passionate love that derives from inclination toward a form made up of flesh and blood and filled with nastiness and filth. And insofar as you perceive with an external eye that is dominated by error, such that you may see something big as small, something far as near, and something ugly as beautiful. But how then is it not conceivable in regards to seeing the beauty of the divine presence and eternal majesty, whose end or deficiency is inconceivable, and insofar that it is perceived by the inner vision, that according to its people is more true and clearer than outer vision? And this is really a reminder of how we fall in love with forms that are defect, with forms, I mean, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the human being في أحسن تقويم, in the best fashion, best form. Nevertheless, part of this, if we don't talk about the character, what's about the outer? There is, subhanallah, there is beauty. The Prophet ﷺ said to the, yeah, this is to someone who would like to get engaged, and he said, انظر إليها, look at her, فإنه أحرى أن يؤدم بينكم والله أعلم, so that you might just like find something beautiful in her. And it doesn't mean that you go out together. It doesn't mean that you date someone. That's not the case. But there is some, and in the tradition about the 4 reasons why, why a man marries a woman: money, family, beauty. So beauty is one of them. And a woman might simply marry someone because he is handsome. But you would live with the character much more than the form. The form is going to go away. Muscles today, maybe an obese person later on. Beauty today, and then old age will sink in slowly. It's the character. So the one would the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compared to this love that we fall for makes more sense, and as Imam Al-Ghazali argues, beauty, eternal beauty, eternal majesty. On this basis, Junaid rahimahullah said, the famous Sufi, I said to Sari Saqti, again, he's radiallahu anhu, another Sufi who could be his maternal uncle. So he said to him, does the lover so he is the Sir Saqati is the maternal uncle of Al-Junaid. So he said to him, does the lover experience the pain of tribulation? He said, no. I said, meaning the Junaid, even if he were struck by the sword. He said, no. Even if he were struck by the sword. 70 blows. And of course, you know that's number 7 and 70 and 700. Almost as if you say infinity. Someone said, I loved everything due to love of him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To the extent that if he loved hell, I would love to enter hell. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, and they say he's the radiallahu anh, they say that Umar ibn Abdul Aziz is the 5th well-guided caliph, Khalifa al-Rashid al-Khamis, despite the time between the 4th, which is Ali ibn Abi Talib and Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, because he was just, he was pious, he was God conscientious. So Umar ibn Abdul Aziz said, no joy remains for me except what is in those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has determined. Once a Sufi lost his small child for 3 days. It was said to him, if only you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to return him to you, to return his son to him. So he said, my objection to what he has decreed would be harder on me than my child's disappearance. But let's ask the question, is it objection? The second aspect of contentment is that a person feels pain and naturally dislikes it, yet is content with it in his mind and faith due to his knowledge of the immensity of the reward for enduring tribulation. In the same way, the sick person is content with the pain of bloodletting or taking medicine due to his knowledge that it is the cause of healing. To the extent that he rejoices at the one who directs him to the medicine, even if it is disgusting. This reminds me of when people go to annual checkup or before being admitted to a hospital or what have you. Sometimes they suffering from something, so they go to the lab and blood work. So the lab technician will withdraw blood, and though the quantity is relatively small, people are bothered by this, except that the prospect of being healed or that this is important for their health makes them tolerate really this process. Likewise, the merchant is content with the hardship of travel, despite its being contrary to his nature. The likes of this is also witnessed in regards to the ephemeral matters of the world. So how can it be denied in regards to eternal happiness? It is narrated that a woman fell so violently that one of her nails came off, but she laughed. She was asked, "Do you not feel agonizing pain?" She said, "Indeed, the pleasure of its reward removed the bitterness of pain from my heart." The I think it's the husband. Yes, here it is dropped from the from the translation. Uh, she's the wife of Fath al-Musli. Thus forever is thus for whoever is certain that the reward of tribulation is greater than whatever is hard for him to endure, it is not far-fetched that he will be content with it. The third aspect is that a person believes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a subtle wisdom, or better yet, subtle wisdoms behind every wondrous thing. This removes from his heart any objection through asking why or how, such that he does not wonder at whatever happens in the world by way of what the ignorant person might regard as obfuscation, confusion, and deviation from what is right. This person knows that his wandering resembles that of Musa alayhi salam about the Khidr when he damaged the orphan's boat. Killed the young boy and rebuilt the wall, as mentioned in Surah Al-Kahf. Again, I think in the translation there's because I mean this should be known really. Yeah, I think the the boat or the ship was for masakin, poor people who needed that boat really. The orphans, the wall, and rebuilt the wall um, for the orphans, because there is a treasure in it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed that they should grow old enough and discover that wall. Had the wall collapsed, then some people would take it. So the translation needs to be adjusted. When Al-Khidr revealed the secret of what he had been made privy to, the wonder of Musa subsided. His wonder was based on what had been hidden from him of these secrets, and thus are Allah's actions, subhanahu wa ta'ala. An example is what is related about a man among those who are content. He used to say about whatever afflicted him, the best is in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has determined, has decreed. He was in the remote desert with his family and had nothing but a donkey to carry his tent, a dog to guard him, and a rooster to wake them up. A fox came and took the rooster, so his family was saddened. He said, "It's all good." A wolf came and killed the donkey, so his family was saddened. He said, "It's all good." When the dog was afflicted and died, so he said, "It's all good." His family was amazed at this, until one day they awoke and everything around them had been captured and their children enslaved. Their locations were known because of the rooster's voice, others because of the dog's barking, and others because of the donkey's braying. He said, Now you have seen that the best is in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has determined. Now there's just let me just read one part. His family was amazed at this by saying it's all good 3 times, until one day they awoke and everyone around them had been captured and their children enslaved. Their children, the other people, except for themselves. Because these animals uh, and bear, if you will, revealed the place of those people, of the other people. So practically, the fact that they have lost the rooster and the donkey, and the dog died, then no animal or bird basically would tell about their presence at night. This is really definitely the context is about night, though it is not mentioned. He said, now you have seen that the best is in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has determined. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had not destroyed our animals, those marauders would have destroyed us. Yes. It is narrated that a prophet used to worship in a mountain that was close to a well. A cavalryman passed by and drank from it, and accidentally left behind a bag containing 1,000 dinars. Later on, another man came and took the bag. Thereafter, a poor man came carrying a load of firewood on his back. He took a drink and stretched out to relax. The cavalryman returned to search for the bag but did not find it, so he grabbed the poor man, demanded the bag, and beating him. He did not find the bag on him, so he killed him. The Prophet said, "Oh my God, this," he said, "My God, this person did not take the bag. It was that other wrongdoer. You inflicted that unjust cavalryman on the poor, on the poor man, so that he killed him." So Allah revealed to him, to the Prophet, "Concern yourself with your worship. Knowledge of the secrets of my dominion is none of your business. Indeed, that poor man murdered the father. That poor man murdered the father of the cavalryman, so I put the latter in a position to exact retribution. Indeed, the father of the cavalryman stole 1,000 dinars from the man who took the bag, so I returned it to him through what the other left." I do have a story. Uh, and in 1948, there was a fight between the Zionist forces, and at the time, there of course, in Jerusalem, it was the Jordanian army. So people did fight, and there were also some people some men who volunteered during the war. Uh, they were young, including my father, and it was immediately south of the old city of Jerusalem in a place called the Thawri. And the Zionist forces were on top of the mountain uh, close to what we call Jabal Mukabbir today. At any rate, they were up on the top of the mountain, and my father was in the positioned in the lower part of the mountain. So they fought. There was shooting against each other throughout the night. Before dawn, the Zionist forces withdrew. Before they withdrew, they blew up a house, a home, to cover for their withdrawal. Now, this is now the story that I would like to share with, is that my father said that family used to cheat in the milk they sold, like they would mix water with it. Now, things do happen. It doesn't mean that always it has to be that way, but that particular story is it's close to the spirit of this poor man who killed the father of the cavalry man, and he was put in a position where he killed him as retribution. Whoever is certain about the likes of these secrets does not wonder at Allah's actions, subhanahu wa ta'ala, but at his own ignorance. He does not say why or how. He is pleased with whatever Allah has planned in His dominion. There's a fourth aspect that is derived from pure knowledge of generosity and wisdom, and how the appropriate causes are ordered to fit the effects. This requires knowledge of the primary decree, Al-Qada al-Awwal, which is like the blink of an eye, and knowledge of predetermination, Al-Qadr, which is the cause of the details of the decree being manifested, and which ensures that they are ordered in the best and most complete way, such that it is not possible for them to be better or more complete. If details of the decree were stored up, it would be stinginess, not generosity or inability that conflicts with omnipotence. Behind all of this is knowledge of the secret of predetermination. Whoever is certain of that, his conscience does not contain anything but contentment with everything that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The explanation of this would be long, and there is no way to shorten it, so we will move past it. How to combine contentment with Allah's decree and hatred of the people of disbelief and disobedience. Perhaps you say, how do I combine between contentment with Allah's decree subhanahu wa ta'ala and hatred of the people of disbelief and disobedience, since I have been legally obliged to practice it, and yet that is Allah's will for them subhanahu wa ta'ala. Know that a group of feeble-minded people have thought that abandoning the commanding of good is a part of contentment with divine decree, and have called it good character. This is pure ignorance. Rather, it is upon you to be pleased and to dislike together. Contentment and dislike are opposites if they are applied to a single thing from a single perspective. However, there is no such conflict. There is no conflict if you kill your enemy, who is also your enemy's enemy. You are pleased insofar as he is your enemy, yet dislike it, insofar as he is your enemy's enemy. Likewise, acts of disobedience have two perspectives. They have a divine perspective insofar as acts of disobedience are Allah's decree and will. So, from this perspective, a person is content. Another perspective is toward the disobedient person insofar as the act is his attribute, his earning, and a sign that he is an object of loathing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From this perspective, a person dislikes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obligated you to hate those whom He hates for opposing His command. So it is upon you to fulfill whatever He has obligated you to do and comply with it. Imagine that your beloved said to you, I want to test your love. Beat my slave and wear him out until he curses me. Whoever hates him, it is he who loves me, and whoever loves him is my enemy. It is possible for you to hate his slave if he curses him, while knowing that it is he who forced him to curse, and that was his will for him. So you say, as for his action in regards to cursing, I'm pleased with it insofar as it is your plan for your slave, and your will for whoever you desire to push away. As for his cursing, then insofar as it is his attribute and the sign of his enmity, I hate it because I love you. Therefore, I inevitably hate anyone who bears the sign of enmity to you. This is a delicate matter that the weak slip over and are thus incoherent. The meaning of contentment with Allah's decree, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise, you should not think that the meaning of contentment with divine decree is abandoning supplication, abandoning medical treatment, or leaving the arrow that is shot at you to hit you while you have the ability to block it with a shield. Rather, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obligated you to supplicate in order to thereby extract from your heart pure remembrance, humility, and softness, so that you are prepared to receive subtle insights and spiritual illumination. So, take into the cause effect. فأتبع سببا. Three times was it ذو القرنين at the end of Surah Al-Kahf. Amid contentment with his decree is that a person seeks means to what he loves through pursuing whatever he made a means to it. It also involves abandoning the causes of opposition to his beloved, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and conflict with his pleasure. Thus, it is not from contentment that a thirsty person refrains from extending his hand to cold water, claiming that he is pleased with thirst, which is Allah's decree, subhanahu wa ta'ala. To the contrary, it is from Allah's decree, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and his love that thirst is relieved with water. Nor is that which entails transgressing the bounds of sacred law or leaving off concern for Allah's sunnah in the first place from the contentment with divine decree. To the contrary, its meaning is to abandon all opposition to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala outwardly and inwardly, while exerting the utmost effort to connect oneself with Allah's beloved slaves, subhanahu wa ta'ala, through keeping his commands and desisting from his prohibitions. So, rida, contentment with divine decree, does not mean that you prolong your own suffering if you can do something about it. While you say Alhamdulillah for whatever befalls you, if it's disease, then you definitely should do something about it, like the coronavirus, communicable diseases. If it's really famine, then you should do something about it. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam he explained the vision of with a plan, a 14 years old, 13 years plan, 7 in which they save, and 7 lean years in which they spend from the stored wheat, and then after 14 years they will have the famine will end. The Prophet ﷺ and planning each of the initial wars that the Meccans initiated, and they followed the Muslims all the way to Medina. Each of these wars had its own plan. In Badr, he asked his companions, and they told him to be in front of the water springs, because the Meccans will be coming, traveling on their animals and walking probably from Mecca to Medina. They will be thirsty, their animals will be thirsty, so they they filled the springs with stones, and they were in front of them. In the Battle of the Trench, they literally dug a trench surrounding Medina, I think probably on 3 sides. And the Battle of Uhud, it was a total different plan, military plan. And I remember about the companions who failed to fulfill the orders of the Prophet commander. Remember the story of the archers whom the Prophet ﷺ warned not to descend from the hill where he asked them to be, where he stationed them. And they thought that the war ended, and then Sayyidina Khalid Walid, who was not a Muslim at the time, went around, and that led to the Muslims losing the battle. So economics, you take action. Politics, you take action. Military, you take action. Whatever is the health, you take action. Whatever is the case, that's not against contentment, as Imam Al-Ghazali concluded. Well, done with 39 principles, 39 fundamentals. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll deal with the 40th. Until tomorrow, subhanakallah wa bihamdik. نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.